Okay.
Good afternoon, I'm Tyler Barbary.
And I'm Emily Travestick.
So to start off, I'd like to give you a little bit of context to our problem at hand here. So here I have listed are the basic expenses within animal shelters. These can include food costs, which can accumulate to around 480 to around 720 annually, and that's per pet. So I'm sure you can imagine with a large shelter that has a large income of animals, that number can go up drastically. Secondly, we have the cost to spay and neuter, which is about $100 per animal. And then we go into the vaccinations and microchipping, which are two requirements that all animal shelters have. You know, you've got to keep track of your animals, and you've got to prevent them from getting sick and making other animals sick at the same time. And so that's $50 per vaccination and $50 per microchipping as well that the shelter has to put forth. You have to pay your employees, your managers, and a manager's salary within shelters usually is around the $32,000 to $62,000 range in that general area. You also have to have insurance for your animals that can include, or insurance that includes insurance for your animals, insurance for your facility, insurance for all your infrastructure that you have inside, and so on and so forth, which can accumulate to around $50,000 annually. And lastly, you have to advertise your animals, or else obviously they're going to stay stagnant within the shelter, which is the worst case scenario, because then you have animals that are not going out to good homes and they're stuck within these shelters, and it's raising costs within the shelters as well. So ultimately, we have found that the cost of running a shelter is not equivalent to the amount of donations and or funding that the shelters are receiving. By that I mean the amount of funding is not enough for the shelter to handle their animals and provide the care for everything that they need to effectively. So this brings us to our problem statement, which is individuals are forced to surrender animals to shelters due to a lack of funding and supplies that are readily available for pet owners. Thus, shelters have become overstocked with this. You know, more and more people are bringing animals in due to medical emergencies and things of that nature that people can't afford, which as a result is raising the rates and costs within the shelters. More animals to take care of, more costs for these animals, as well as raising the rates of strays on the street, because people, if they don't turn them to a shelter, that's the only other alternative for them, unless they were to find them a home themselves. And the euthanasia rates are also going up. So our solution is unique. It is an at-home service. We came up with the name Hope Made Possible. This is for individuals that fall into a certain income range, and we hope to supply them with things such as food and emergency medical services, just in case a surprise comes up and you have vet costs that you cannot afford, or you don't have the means to get to the vet and things of that nature. We'll come to you, we'll handle the cost for free, and this will help hopefully reduce the number of strays and the number of animals that are being sheltered, and allow for animals to get the care they need to live healthily. Ultimately, providing this service will prevent animals from entering shelters and reduce shelter costs of housing animals, while also reducing costs and rates of euthanasia. Our opportunity size is quite proportional. We will be targeting the 27,000 individuals that live below the poverty line in southern Indiana, and they also the ones that own pets in particular. So we'll be providing them, as stated, with basic needs such as food and emergency medical equipment. We found that one main reason that pets were brought in were due to surprise and medical emergencies that owners could not readily afford. So they're left with a very tough decision of either going into debt to get the medical attention that their animal requires, or they'll go into debt, or they will provide with the basic necessities that the animal will need. We hope to receive funding from the Petco Foundation, whose mission statement is to create a better world for animals and the people who love and need those animals. So obviously they're very passionate about what they do, and the Petco is a very well-known name in this industry, so we hope that creates a little buzz around our business as well. So on the secondary basis, animal shelters would also obviously be benefiting from this because the focus on preventing animals from coming in the shelters in the first place by giving people these services and supplies will hopefully, push the people to hold on to their animals instead of giving them to shelters that cannot afford to, house and feed and vaccinate these animals.
And so as we look at how the service can be valuable, Evansville does have a few mobile veterinary services, but they actually cost more than just taking an animal directly to the vet, usually an additional $50 to $75 fee. And so this does nothing to help the families that are lower income or can't even afford transportation in the first place. And so this would cost no additional expense or little additional expense to the owner. And the mobile veterinarian services, they only do your basic vet services. We would want, with Hope Made Possible, to give not only veterinarian services, but emergency services and food and resources so that that animal can stay in the home and not have to be surrendered to a shelter. And also, this will save local animal shelters money. So with Hope Made Possible, they will never enter the shelters in the first place. Whereas with the veterinarian services, if someone does call them to their house or anything, they may not be able to afford that in the end and have to end up surrendering it anyways after going to dead. And so simplified, for low-income animal owners who face giving up their pets, Hope Made Possible would enable the continued ownership of those pets and at their home alleviating the local shelters from some of those burdens. And then unlike mobile veterinary services, Hope Made Possible would cost the user significantly less and provide more than the veterinarian services alone. So in conclusion, we believe that this would not only alleviate a lot of the shelter's burdens and loss of resources, this would allow many pets to stay off the streets, lower euthanasia rates, and keep pets happy with their homes and at the homes, yes.
All right.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.